This person's car alarm goes off every single day. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about our failures. And I know that's not something we like to talk about, but it is a reality if you're in any kind of higher level education, pharmacy school, medical school, college, you're going to fail something. It's very unlikely that you're going to get through all of your education and not fail any assignment, any exam, things like that. So I'm going to give you 6 tips for how to recover after you fail an exam, and hopefully this will kind of help you if you ever do experience that. Just kind of take a pause, regroup, and figure it out. Let's go ahead and get into it. So my first tip is just step back for a second, take a deep breath, and do something nice for yourself. So a lot of us just want to punish ourselves immediately when we fail an exam. Be like, I didn't study hard enough, I'm not smart enough, and we just beat ourselves up and then jump right back into studying for it. You don't want to do that. Take a breather. So for me, my exams are always on Monday afternoons. So if I took an exam and I just know it just did not go in my favor, I will take the rest of the afternoon off. I will just allow myself to kind of lay around, watch TV. That's a reward for me. I just like doing nothing. But you know, maybe you go get a pedicure, go get food. If you're like a foodie, go get some ice cream. Do something nice for yourself. And it's not to reward like bad behavior or anything, but sometimes we just need a little bit of a pick-me-up. Sometimes we just need to be upset with ourselves for a little bit, and that's fine. But then you really need to kind of center yourself and come right back to it. My second tip is to study for a class that you do well in. So maybe you failed your biochemistry exam, right? Take a break from biochemistry, don't even look at it for the rest of the day, maybe even the next couple of days, and focus on a class that you excel in. So maybe you do really well in a class like biology, if you have a biology class. So you go ahead and study for that. That'll be a self-esteem booster. You're going to understand it better. You can do the homework and it's easier for you. So do things like that to kind of boost your morale back up. Remind yourself that you are an intelligent person. You got into the school you're in. They wouldn't let you into the program if you were a dodo. Like, you got in because you have a brain and because you're intelligent and because they think you can succeed. So you have to remember that and just be like, okay, maybe I'm not great at this class. It isn't my forte, but I can do these other things, and remind yourself of that. Okay. My third tip, which is the most important, evaluate how you studied. What techniques did you do to study for that exam? Because whatever those techniques were, they didn't work. If you failed an exam after studying a certain way, that technique did not work for that class. So you have to evaluate what that technique was and then do some research and figure out different ways to study. Just because you studied that way for your biology class and you got an A on that exam doesn't mean you can study the same way and get an A on your biochemistry exam. Every class requires different techniques, and your brain might work different ways. So like for me, for example, I understand my science courses a lot better than courses where I have to memorize stuff. So I have to study differently for those courses because I don't just get it. It just doesn't get in here. I have to put in a lot of effort. And studying the way I would study for biochem is not going to work for a class where I have to memorize names of drugs, for example. So you really have to evaluate how you studied and do research on different methods to study so that you can change what you did so that you don't have the same results that you just got. My fourth tip is extremely important as well, as important as the third tip, and that is reach out to your professors and your successful classmates. So there was one exam in my Biochem 2 class last semester that I did not do well in, and I was below the average, which I was like, oh my gosh, like I usually am pretty good in biochem. That's one of my go-to classes. So I was just like, what? So I emailed the professor about it, and we set up a time where we could Skype face-to-face and go, because I'm in a distance education program, I can't just go to his office, right? But we Skyped, and he pulled up my exam and went over the types of questions I got wrong. And that was so helpful because he was able to categorize it for me. So he was like, okay, you're really good at the questions where you have to analyze and you're not just going from A to B, but you're going from A to C. He was like, you can do that, but you're not great at going from A to B. So basically I can do like the application questions, but when it comes to rote memorization of things, I'm not great at that. Which I do already know. I can't memorize for my life, guys. I don't know what it is. That's really important to look at what you got wrong. And a lot of times you can see a pattern in the types of questions you got wrong. Maybe it's the clinical applications that you're not great at. You can remember the facts, but once you go to apply those facts to actual real life problems, you just can't get there, right? That's important because what that means is when you go to study for that class, you have to do practice of that. You have to do practice problems, make up your own practice problems, things like that so that you can succeed in those questions. My anatomy and physiology class was a lot of that. It was a lot of, okay, you know the steps. Here's a case study of a patient. And then you had to apply it to that patient and maybe make a recommendation for medication or explain what was wrong with that patient. So it's really important to talk to your professor and figure out what kind of questions you got wrong and get their feedback for how they recommend that you study for their course. They're the master of their course. They know how you should study for it or how different people are studying that are successful. So they are a great resource to go to. Do not be afraid to talk to your professor. They are there for you. That's literally their job. So please, please, please talk to your professors. That is the best thing you can do. And then other classmates. So I am always reaching out to other classmates who did better than me, and I'm asking, okay, how did you study for this? Because maybe their study techniques don't always work for you, but there might be like one thing here or there that you can take from them and apply to your own studying. If somebody got 100 or a 95 on this exam that you got a 60 on, they're doing something right? It's usually not just, oh, they're smart. No, they're putting in effort, they're studying hard, they're doing something that you're not. So just ask them those questions, ask how they studied, maybe even study with them. That helps a lot too when you study with somebody else and you can discuss the content. So highly recommend reaching out to people. Don't put yourself in a bubble and be like, I'm a dodo, I don't know anything, I'm just gonna not reach out because I don't want people to know how dumb I am. No, you're not dumb, first of all. It's hard. Pharmacy school, medical school, nursing school, whatever you're in, it's hard. So you need to reach out to people. It's so, so, so important. Okay, tip number 5, try those new techniques, right? If you didn't get any new techniques from your professor or from your classmates, go online. Google how to study for that class. Or just Google study tips in general. And there's so much out there that you can do. Or message me, I'll help you. But you want to try those new techniques. But don't try too many at once. Maybe add in 1 or 2 new study techniques and see if you're grasping the material better. And then if those aren't working, switch it up again. Don't switch up too much too quickly because you're going to overwhelm yourself. You're not going to know exactly which technique is working for you. And who has time to learn like 30 different techniques to learn material? So try 1 or 2, see over a couple weeks if they're working for you or not, and then regroup and go from there. But you really, really, really need to try changing up your study habits, because if you just keep doing the same thing over and over and you're getting bad results, you're not going to get better results. You have to find out how you study, what works for you, and change it up and see if you get those better results. And then my 6th tip is not really a tip, but just keep trying. Don't give up. Like I've said a million times, these schools are difficult. It's going to be difficult. If it wasn't, everybody on the street would be a doctor, you know what I'm saying? And just keep in mind that the school does not want you to fail out of their school. They accepted you because they thought that you could succeed, right? So you have the tools, you just really got to evaluate and make use of all those tools. Reach out for help, whether it's me, your professor, or your classmates. Always reevaluate and always keep your chin up and always know that you can do better. Just because you failed one test does not mean you're going to flunk out of the school. Okay guys, I hope this was helpful for you. I know it's really hard when you fail an exam to keep the light at the end of the tunnel in sight, but you can do it. You have all the tools, you just got to use them. If you have any suggestions for people for how to succeed or how to come back after a failed exam, leave those in the comments below for all of us. If you have any questions for me, please leave those below as well. As always, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me through all my social media or my email, which is in the description box below and at the end of this video. If you like videos like this, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.